Alright, let's settle this. The debate that's been raging on school playgrounds and internet forums since the 90s. Pokemon versus Digimon. Now, before you jump into the comments, this is not a which one is better video. I love both. You probably love both. They basically defined a generation. But I was on Reddit the other day and saw this meme that just perfectly captures the difference between them. And it got me thinking. We all know Pokemon has the better games. That's not really up for debate. But when it comes to storytelling, Digimon just hits different. It does some things so much better, things that made it stick with me in a completely different way. So today, we're not picking a winner. We're diving into what made the Digimon anime so special, so mature, and honestly, so dark sometimes. Let's get into it. So, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For me, it's the stakes. In Pokemon, the worst thing that could happen to Ash on any given day was, what, losing a gym badge? Having Team Rocket steal Pikachu for the 500th time? It's fun, it's low stakes. But Digimon? Digimon started with a group of kids getting sucked into a strange new world, and right from the get-go, it was about survival. It wasn't a friendly competition, it was a fight for their lives. And the villains weren't just goofy criminals, they were genuinely terrifying. Myotismon was literally trying to kill children and take over the real world. The Dark Masters were straight up despots who had twisted the digital world into a hellscape. And then you get to Tamers, and the main villain is the D-Reaper, this formless existential threat that's just deleting everything in its path. It's cosmic horror in a kids show. Digimon wasn't afraid to get dark, and that made the victories feel so much more earned. And what made the villains even more compelling was that they weren't always just some big evil monster. Sometimes, the most terrifying villain was one of their own. I'm talking, of course, about the Digimon Emperor from Adventure 02. Ken Ichijoji wasn't a force of nature. He was a traumatized kid, a genius who was twisted by grief and jealousy. He wasn't just a bad guy to be defeated, he was a tragic figure who needed to be saved. His redemption arc, and the guilt he carries for the rest of the series, is one of the most mature storylines in any kids show from that era. Pokemon has had rivals and characters who learn to be better, but it rarely dives into that level of moral complexity and the long, difficult road to redemption. Digimon wasn't afraid to show that good people can do terrible things, and that forgiveness has to be earned. But it wasn't just the world that was more complex. It was the kids themselves. Ash Ketchum is great, but he's been 10 years old for, what, 25 years now? Now look at the DigiDestined. We saw them grow up. Not just in the show, but over the course of the entire franchise. We saw them go from scared kids to confident teenagers to young adults facing real-world problems. And their problems weren't just about fighting monsters. The show dealt with some incredibly real stuff. Matt and TK were dealing with the trauma of their parents' divorce. Izzy was an adopted kid trying to understand his identity. Sora had a strained relationship with her mom. These were characters with actual baggage, with flaws. The conflict between Ty and Matt over who should lead the group felt real because it came from their insecurities. They argued, they made mistakes, they grew. That's something Pokemon never really gave us on the same level. And you know, it wasn't just the characters that had more depth. It was the world itself. The digital world wasn't just a backdrop like Kanto or Johto. It felt like a character in its own right. Think about it, in Pokemon, the regions are basically just maps. You go from town A to town B, you cross a forest, you surf across some water. It's a world built for a game. But the digital world was mysterious, broken, and dangerous. It had its own strange history and lore that the kids had to uncover. It was a world made of data, and that had real consequences. Islands were floating, deserts were made of code, and weirdly, there were telephone poles in the middle of nowhere. It felt alien. This made the journey feel less like a road trip and more like a true expedition into the unknown. The world itself was part of the story, and that's a layer of world building that I always felt was missing from Pokemon's anime. And that complexity carried over into the most important part of the show, the bond between the kids and their Digimon. Ash and Pikachu have an iconic friendship, no doubt, but they can't really talk to each other, can they? In Digimon, your partner could talk. They had their own personality, their own fears, their own opinions. The relationship wasn't just a trainer and a pet, it was a true partnership. Think about Agumon trying to calm Tai down when he was being reckless, or Tentomon pushing Izzy to be more open. These weren't just digital monsters, they were best friends, life coaches, and protectors all rolled into one. And because of that, when a Digimon was in danger, it hurt so much more. Which brings me to Leomon. Yeah, Digimon went there multiple times. They showed us that loss was real and it was permanent. That's a level of emotional storytelling you just don't get in Pokemon. Okay, I have to talk about the transformations. Pokemon evolution is cool. A little jingle, a flash of light, and boom, new Pokemon. It's a power-up. But Digivolution? Digivolution is an event. It was pure hype. That music kicking in, you knew something incredible was about to happen. It wasn't just a simple power-up, it was a moment of emotional breakthrough. A Digimon could only Digivolve when their human partner showed courage, or friendship, or love. It was tied directly to their character growth. And the sequences themselves were just epic. The spinning data, the breaking shell, the reveal of this awesome new form. Going from Greymon to Metal Greymon or Angemon to Magna Angemon, these were moments that had me jumping off the couch. It felt earned, it felt dramatic. It was the perfect payoff for the emotional journey the characters were on. Now, after all that, is Digimon just better? No, of course not. As I said, Pokemon has always had the better games. Catching, training, battling, exploring those huge worlds. It's a near perfect formula. It's more accessible, the creature designs are arguably more consistently iconic, and the brand is a global powerhouse for a reason. Pokemon is a comfortable, fun adventure. Digimon is a dramatic, serialized story. They're trying to do two completely different things. Pokemon wants to be an endless journey you can always come back to, while Digimon wants to tell you a complete story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So yeah, for me, the Digimon anime just has that edge in storytelling. It treated its audience with a bit more maturity. It wasn't afraid to explore darker themes, to let its characters be flawed, and to show real consequences. It's the difference between a fun adventure and an epic saga. And while I'll always go back to Pokemon for the games, the story of the DigiDestined will always have a special place in my heart. But that's just my take. What do you guys think? Were you a Pokemon kid, a Digimon kid, or both? What moments from either show have stuck with you all these years? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.